Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley and welcome to another live stream. I'm super excited to continue Pastepalooza going, and today we're diving into some solar paste techniques using 3D embossing folders. This is going to be tons of fun. Using any of the solar, lunar, or astro paste on embossing folders really helps to bring the dimension of the embossing folder to life and give such a beautiful shine and dimension to it. So today we're going to create a bunch of different backgrounds, diving through the different ways to use it with unique tools and different application methods on the embossing folders. And then I'll put one of the cards together at the end of the live stream. So be sure to stick throughout the live. And also there will be a giveaway throughout, so be sure to keep your comments up as you'll have a chance to win a scrapbook.com gift card. So before we get started, I wanted to let you know that scrapbook.com is having a really great free gift right now. This is the Arden 360 glue dot pen. I love this thing. They sent me one and it's got this like glue dot. It's almost like a little tape runner, but you can kind of like move it throughout your surface. Also really great for little die cuts. So I might use it during today's live, but you can add this for free to your cart at scrapbook.com right now. At the checkout, above the checkout, they just have a bunch of different items that you can add, which is awesome. I love that they do that. And this is one of them today. And then we also have the ink blending brushes, and these are the small size. Now these keep selling out over at Ranger. They have them at scrapbook.com too, but they recently restocked the bundle at Ranger where you can get 12 for the price of 10. So really great bundle deal over there. I have it all linked down below in case you want to check out any of the supplies that I use. You can find them all linked and listed down there, and using those links helps support me. So I really appreciate it. But I love to let you know when things come back in stock in case you are interested in grabbing them. All right, now let's jump into our first technique using the 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to just show you a quick way to do a 3D emboss and cut folder, and then I'll show you how to use the new silicone paste spreaders for a really fun technique with the paste and the folder. So here we're going to go in with the Starry Night 3D embossing folder. And when you buy this 3D embossing folder, it comes along with a die. So if you buy the 3D embossing folder, it already comes with this die. It's called an emboss and cut. I'm going to show you how to use that today. But then also, there's a bundle that has the stencils along with. You can only get the stencils along with the embossing folder. So if you want to get these stencils, they coordinate along with the color in the stars really beautifully, but you have to grab it along with the embossing folder, okay? So all you're going to do is go in, and I'm going to do some black cardstock. So I'll go in with some of Tim Holtz's Distress Heavy Stock. I love this stuff. It is really nice and velvety smooth and really jet black, which is great. And before I do any sort of 3D embossing, you'll take a little bit of water in your spray bottle, and I'm just going to lightly mist it across the surface. That's going to prepare the cardstock and get it ready to kind of mold to the design. If you notice there's any cracking or ripping in your design, usually the problem is that you didn't mist it with water beforehand. So to avoid that, mist your cardstock with water and you shouldn't have any issues. All right, then we'll go in here and let me see. I already attached this, but let me show you how to do this. So it comes along with this die along in this set, okay? And all you do is you'll notice there's a little ridge in this embossing folder. Do you guys see that? There's a little ridge across it just like this on the side where my name is. So on the side where the name and the logo is, you'll flip it over and you'll see that there's this little indent in the folder. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take your die and you're going to place it right along that edge. And you'll notice that it's gonna fit in like a puzzle there. It almost locks in there on that corner. Once it's kind of locked into that design, you're gonna take little pieces of mint tape or whatever tape you want to hold it down. Again, lock it against that edge, make sure it's nice and lined up. And then you'll bring in your mint tape and you'll tape this right down, just like that. And then I just like to fold it over the edge. You can usually use this a couple of times before that tape comes off. And so that's now aligned inside your folder and it's going to emboss and cut at the same time. You don't need to use it with the die inside of it and then it just won't cut. But I really love that it cuts and embosses at the same time. So I'll go in here and I'm just going to line this design up really easily, just like that inside of my folder. And then we're going to bring in our die cutting machine. So this is the Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And in order to do 3D embossing with this machine, you're going to remove all of your plates. So all of the cutting plates will come out, except for the A platform base. You'll leave that inside your machine. Then you'll place in the Spellbinders 3D embossing folder. And lastly, you'll place down the D adapter plate right on top. And then you'll run this right through your embossing machine. I know, Avra Williams says, how clever to cut and emboss in one pass. I know. I love that Spellbinders does these cut and emboss folders. They do such an amazing job. And the awesome part about this one too, is if you use a piece of cardstock that's sized for the folder, you can also run this through your smaller machine like the Scout machine. Okay, let's lift this out and check it out, okay? So all you need to do then is if it's stuck at the top or bottom, you just kind of, you go in with your scissors, or if it's small enough area, kind of rip that off, and it cut really nicely throughout. So that gives you that really great star design, and then the edge now has this really great smooth cut that follows along with the stars, which is amazing, okay? So I'm gonna set this off to the side now. We'll place our machine off to the side. We'll do some embossing with it a little bit later. And then let's jump into our techniques. So I'm going to go in with my sticky mat. I like this because it just kind of holds things down as we work with them. And this is the Altenew 9x12 sticky mat. It works really well for different techniques. And then I'll place this right down onto the sticky mat to hold it in place. Then we're gonna go in with some of our solar pastes. I'm gonna pick a couple different colors. So I'm gonna use Sublime, which is this kind of lime green color. I'll use a little bit of Neptune. We'll bring in some Pity Party. Let's see, should we go in? Let's do a little bit of Royal Flush, and let's also do some Beluga. So this is gonna create us kind of a really fun galaxy effect. I love these different colors of the solar paste. Okay, so set these off to the side, they're ready to use. And then we're gonna go in with our new silicone paste spreader tools. These are amazing. Again, these are linked down below. They just launched. So if you don't have them, these are kind of a must-have. They are silicone tools that are almost like spatulas. We call them paste spreaders. They look like the handle of a paintbrush, but it's this one silicone piece that kind of tapers down at the end. It's nice and flexible, and it almost looks like a paintbrush, but it's a solid piece. So it'll help to kind of scrape your paste through stencils and things like that. But you can also use it to almost paint on your paste, which is what I'm going to show today. It comes in a 1-inch size and a 2-inch size, all in one pack. So you buy one pack and you get both of these brushes inside, which is amazing. Okay, so let's go in, starting off with a little bit of Neptune. I'm gonna show you just how easy this is. So if you use that smaller 1-ounce tool, and if you notice when you open your paste, sometimes there's a little bit of dried paste on the inside. That's just whatever was on the outside edge before you open it. So you can just get rid of that every single time. If you don't get rid of it, it can sometimes build up, but it doesn't affect the paste at all. It's just whatever was outside of your jar when you closed it. So I'll grab a little piece of the paste just like this, and I love that the 1-inch one can kind of scoop inside of the jars like this. And then we're gonna go on and just go in and start almost like painting, literally like a paintbrush, okay? We're gonna go in, you can go like, flip the sides. I find that to be helpful. And I was super inspired. I saw this from Laura at scrapbook.com today, and she tried this on an embossed design, and it just looks amazing because the nature of these silicone paste spreaders is that you can kind of, they're almost got like a spring to them. So it's like painting, but you're able to apply it like thicker and thinner and really have the control because it's kind of springing back out at you. It's hard to explain, but it just feels completely different than any other tool that I've used for my paste before, because it's not a hard plastic like a palette knife. Because if you tried this with your palette knife, it would just kind of like hold paste in more areas than you want to. Whereas here, when you spread this down, it might start kind of thick, but you can really thin it down as much as you want, but it still catches the paste in some of these areas where the embossing is. So it's completely different than the other look that you can get with your palette knives and your plastic tools. So I really encourage you guys to try these. So we're kind of just painting on our design, and with the embossing there, it catches the paste in different areas and really highlights it beautifully. But even where you apply it super thin, you still get a really great coating of paste on the surface. Should we lift it up just to show you here? Look at that. And that solar paste is super cool because when you look at it straight on, it almost looks kind of white. And then when you tilt it in the light, you really get that beautiful iridescent color on the black cardstock. Okay, so we'll stick this right down, and then we're going to go in with our next color. I'm going to use, actually let's use a little bit of Beluga, which is this darker blue color. We're going to dig right into here, and again, do the same thing. We'll kind of layer this right next to Neptune. And so here you can really see the difference in colors too. I think sometimes when people see solar paste, because it's that white paste, you don't really notice the difference in the jars, but when you see it on top of a project on black cardstock, you can really notice the difference in the colors. But do you see, Do you see now where we can thin it out as much as we want to, but around the design, you get a little bit of a thicker effect. So it almost like highlights the colors of the embossing, which I think is super cool. So that's why it's fun to emboss first and then go in with these new spreaders and apply them down. Now you have a lot of control with this because if you want to, you can use this more at a sideways angle with these spreaders. So if you go at kind of the side like this, you're applying more on the surface. So you're getting a much thicker look. You can see that's much thicker. You can see more white there. But if you want to thin it out, go up more of an upwards angle, similar to how the paste scraper tool in the paste tool set works. And then you can get a much thinner effect. So it just depends. And like the amount of pressure that you apply and the angle that you have it is really going to change up the look to how you spread that paste onto your background. I know, you guys are really loving this. Paula says the beluga is so beautiful. I agree. That color is one of my favorites, especially for this kind of nighttime sky galaxy color. It is amazing. And if you guys already have if you already have the old solar pastes, the new ones they sell in a 6 bundle too, which is really great. And at scrapbook.com right now, if you use the code THANKYOU, you get an extra 11% off. So that's a great time to pick this up from scrapbook.com. But I know Ranger carries these too. So if you've been looking to get the solar pastes, they're available in that really awesome bundle as well. Okay, so I'm just going to spread this on. I'm now using a little bit of Pity Party and wiping this on. Can you use the same spreader without cleaning it before dipping into another color? So I'm kind of wiping it off like this onto the side. But if you want to, you could wipe off the brush too. I guess I'm just being a little bit messy. Catherine says, anyone else freaking that Simon didn't wipe his brush? So yeah, I kind of cleaned it off a little bit in between, but you probably should do more if you're using these at home. And you want to make sure to not contaminate your color. Okay, so we'll go up here. So this is called Pity Party, and this one is kind of like a pastel pink, almost lavender color. It is gorgeous. And again, just kind of going back and forth. I find too that going like back like this and then going the other way kind of is helpful, almost using it like a real paintbrush, even though it's all one piece of silicone. It really works nicely like that. Okay, so again, we will put it back into the jar. You can see, so it gets pretty clean relatively before I dip it into the next jar. So that's what I'm doing. Just wiping it off on the side of the jar. Let's try a little bit of Royal Flush now. I know Nancy says she can't wait to try these paste spreader brushes. They are amazing. And this is a really nice kind of royal purple color. And again, go through and wipe that down onto the project. Just go back and forth. And it looks absolutely incredible. I mean, amazing, right? So there we have the whole background covered now. Look at how cool that looks. And because we're applying it so thin with this paste spreader, it dries pretty quickly. So you don't have to worry too much about the dry time. But I am going to show you, we can add even more colors on top. So you don't have to just apply all the colors down. You can actually layer the solar paste on top of each other, because when you layer that mica on top of each other, whatever's on the top is going to kind of take over. So for the last color, I'm going to go in with a little bit of Sublime. And I'm going to bring this right in. And for Sublime, I'm going to use the smallest little amount of that paste, okay? And we're just going to bring it in on a couple different areas of this and just apply it all over it. So this is just going to bring in that kind of neon lime green yellowish color all over the background in some different areas to kind of highlight the design. All right. So we're going to apply that paste down. And then do you guys see that? When we look at it now, there is all of that lime green throughout from that Sublime color. So you can layer colors up as much as you want to get this really beautiful pasted effect all throughout the background. How fun is that? Yes, it really does glisten. It is absolutely amazing. Okay. Now, I also want to show you guys that if you do this the opposite way, so the fun thing about 3D embossing folders, okay, we'll come back to this one in just a second once it's a little bit more dry. The fun part about 3D embossing folders is depending on what side you use is going to depend on the look that you get with it. So let's turn this over. This is how we started out. Okay, so this is the emboss side where it's raised coming towards you. If we flip it over to the deboss side, let's test this out. I didn't test this before the live, so you guys are getting my live testing here. So if you want to clean off your silicone paste spreader, all it takes is for you to go under the sink with this and just clean it off with a little bit of water. But all you need to do is wipe this off and it comes off pretty clean. I got some colors that are a little bit dried on because I was testing and using this before the live. Those ones are a little bit more dry, but all you can do is go in and just literally scrape those off. It's silicone, so all of that comes off no matter what. So I love that with these brushes, they're super easy to clean too. Sometimes with plastic, you're going in and scraping it off and maybe ruining your tool because you're scraping the plastic, but this just wipes right off. So no need to worry about that. If you guys were worried about cleaning it earlier, no need to worry at all. So now I'm going to go in with a little bit of Neptune. And the really fun part is because there's divots in this design now, we're going to actually fill those divots up with paste. And this one's going to take a little bit longer to dry because if you fill those areas with paste, do you see they're a lot thicker in that area, but this highlights that design. You're almost getting like a glow of color all around it. But inside of that design, you're then going to get that actual white paste all throughout. So here I'm going in and filling in those areas. And I don't want to scrape because then you're going to scrape it out of that area. I want to actually go in from a sideways angle like this and spread that on because the sideways angle is going to fill those with the paste and not remove the color from it. Okay? I see sometimes people using this tool or the paste spreader tool. And if you go from an upward angle, you're just removing the paste. But if you go like this from a sideways angle, you're depositing more paste down. So that's important to know. I always want you guys to know exactly how to use your tools because if you're going through and you're really frustrated because you keep pulling paste out, it's usually the reason that you're just using it at the wrong angle. So just switch up the angle that you're using. If you use it at more of a sideways angle like this, again, we are depositing the paste inside of these stars beautifully. Just like that. I know the look on the deboss side is amazing, right? It's so fun because on the debossing now, it really brings those stars to life and really highlights those. Whereas this kind of gives you more of a galaxy look, but you're not necessarily highlighting the stars. So two completely different effects that you're getting from the emboss and the deboss. Let me go in and fill this out with a little bit more color. So here I'll go in with a little bit of beluga. And again, just fill it in. And I like to go back and forth with this like a paintbrush and fill it in with your pastes. I love this beluga color. It works really well. It's almost that perfect nighttime sky, darker blue. Yes, there is so much fun to be had. With the embossing folders, really flipping the sides will give you such a completely different effect, right? And that's what I love about them. They are such a versatile medium because of that texture and because each side has a completely different kind of texture on it, whether it's kind of raised or going down into the cardstock. And so that's what's going to provide you such a different result each time. But it's the same product. Yes, the deboss side is amazing. I agree. Okay. Jennifer, yes, this is black cardstock that we're using. I know, but it doesn't look like it, right? It's amazing. But when you use these pastes on black cardstock, it really allows their colors to fully shine through. And you get such a beautiful, stunning, bold effect from them. But you guys saw, you could totally do this on white cardstock too, which we'll do a little bit later in the live, and you'll see that as well. Let's go in with a little bit of Royal Flush then. This nice purple color to kind of finish it off. I know, yes, it definitely looks even better in person. Sometimes the camera just doesn't do it justice with the amount of shimmer and shine that these have, and they really just shine so beautiful and strong with intense color. Okay, we'll bring that a little bit down into here too. Oh, it's absolutely amazing. And I didn't know that this was gonna work. When I first had these spreaders, I didn't know that this was gonna work because you would think that like pulling this paste towards you at kind of, I'm applying quite a bit of pressure as I'm doing this. But you would think that pulling the paste is just gonna remove it from the cardstock, but it totally paints it on and kind of colors it in, which I think is such a unique result that you really weren't able to get from other tools. So I'm super happy about these silicone paste spreaders. They are amazing for that. So if you didn't add these to your cart at launch, you're probably gonna want them now. They are such a great tool. And if they sell out quickly, we have another shipment coming on the way. We didn't get the full shipment yet. So that is why if they sell out fast, they'll be back in a little bit. So we'll set this off to the side to let this dry, but look at that. Amazing. And look at that paste inside of those areas. It's a little bit more white than the background, but it really highlights those stars beautifully. It still has all the same color and shine as the other background, but that debossing highlights the stars. So again, here is the 3D embossing, and here is flipping it over with that same embossing folder on the deboss side. Now, before we move on from these backgrounds, I want to show you guys how to use the stencils from this Starry Night set. Okay, so we're gonna go in. There is 3 layers of these stencils. You can see they're labeled 1, 2, and 3 at the bottom here. I'm gonna go in with the 3rd layer of the stencil. Let me make sure this is dry. It's almost there. We'll go in with our heat tool and heat set this. And again, because it's pretty thin, it dries in a matter of minutes, so no need to worry about it. But if you need to, you can always go in with your heat tool. I like this Ranger heated tool because it kind of disperses the heat because the opening is bigger on it. And you just want to keep the heat tool moving to make sure the paste doesn't bubble, but it dries really nice and easily, and then it's nice and dry. Okay, then we'll go in here again, and I'm going to bring in my 3rd layer of the stencil. Let's see, right here. You can see that it's the 3rd layer, and then it's facing you because it's got that etched line in there. And then we can go in and we can lay that right down on top of the star design super easily. Okay, so I'm just laying that down, and I'm going to place it right into the sticky mat to hold it in place. Then we're gonna go in with a little bit of paste. This is the Golden Hour Solar Paste. And this is just going to help highlight these stars really beautifully, okay? So we're gonna grab our paste spreader again. And what I love about this paste spreader, it is not gonna apply too much. Because I probably wouldn't go on top of an emboss design with like a palette knife or something like that because it'll apply it a little bit too thick. But I'm going in here, notice my fingers are right around this area because I don't want the stencil to lift at all. Okay, so no lifting, my fingers are right next to the area that I'm covering. And I'm just gonna go in here and sort of paint this on through that stencil. Okay, so right through that stenciled area. And you'll notice we're applying it kind of thin, okay? I'm putting pressure down so that it's not applying too much, it's just kind of going around the edges, and it is amazing. It's gonna really highlight these stars beautifully. Yeah, PJ says this is gonna be looking good. I know, right? Once you lift this off, it is gonna be incredible. Okay, let's go in and just highlight those areas. Now notice I'm not using too much on here. You don't wanna throw too much through because then it will seep through the stencil. So just enough to cover those stars, but not too much. You can always grab more as you continue going. But I'll show you guys, we're not applying a ton down and we're not kind of going at a sideways angle. I am applying a little bit more pressure this time, but I don't want a ton of paste through these stars. I just want a little bit to kind of highlight the edges. Okay, so we'll go through. Yay, Kathy says, I used the Golden Hour with a star stencil today. Well, that is really the goal. The goal is to really just get you guys comfortable with these pastes. That's what Paste Palooza is all about. And hopefully, through these videos and lives, you guys have been learning more about it and just want to pull it off your shelf. But I know sometimes it can feel daunting because there's so many different things you could do with it, or maybe you think it's too messy. So my goal was to just inspire you guys to pull them off the shelf and get back into your collection. And look at that. It looks incredible. And again, once that's dry, you'll see more of the yellow, but you can see at the most raised areas of the stars, it doesn't actually have the yellow on it, but it just highlights the sort of edges of those stars to make them more golden. Really gorgeous. And once it's dry, I've already created one before the live. I want to show you what it looks like when it's completely dry. You can see that yellow really comes to life more once it's fully dry, and it is absolutely stunning. Do you see that gold color? Really highlights some of those stars absolutely beautifully. So amazing, and I love using it with that Starry Night stencil to bring those stars back and really bring them to life. So let me set these off to the side now, and let's move on into the next technique. We'll do a little bit of cleanup quickly here first. So again, with all your tools, you just want to make sure to clean up in between. So with this sticky mat, I'm probably going to run this underneath the sink and do a little bit of scrubbing after the live because some of the paste has dried on it. You do want to clean it up pretty quickly. And then with the silicone tool, you'll just go in and wipe this off on a cloth. And look, that one comes nice and clean really easily because it's that silicone. And then lastly, we'll go in and spray down our stencil. And these clean off stencils while it's still wet really easily. If you have a bucket of water or something that you want to put these off on the side, you totally can to kind of come back to them later while you're crafting, so you can leave them in water and then clean them up after the fact. But you just want to make sure to clean your tools from that paste as you're working. I know, what a difference after it dries. It really is, because it looks a little bit more white when it's still wet, but once that paste fully dries, more of the mica really shines through and you're able to just get the most stunning look on your project, which I think is amazing. All right, so next we're gonna jump into a technique using a brayer with your embossing folder and your solar pastes to kind of maybe stay more on the most raised surfaces or lowered surface and kind of highlight the design a little bit more. So for this, we're gonna use the Damask 3D embossing folder, which this one is beautiful. It's kind of like a Halloween design, but I thought I would still share it. You definitely can use this for more than just Halloween. I think it would be really fun with different florals in front of it and things like that. We kept it pretty playful, and it's not too like skull or skeleton, kind of like, you know, with Halloween damasks. We kept this simple so you can make it gothic if you want to, or you can keep it bright and cheerful if you want to too, for spring and summer cards. So for this, what I'm gonna do is go in with a little bit of black cardstock. Again, I'm going to go in and mist this down. And thank you, Debbie, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And then we're going to go in and we're going to place this right into our 3D embossing folder. And we're going to close it down. And then to do the embossing, again, we'll go into the exact same thing. So we're going to go in with only the A plate, the platform base. Then we will lay this right on top, and even though it's a larger 3D embossing folder, it's still from Spellbinders, so for all of their 3D embossing folders, this is the same sandwich. And then we'll go in with the D hard adapter plate, and we will place that right on top and run this through our die cutting machine. Now the sandwiches for different companies, 3D and embossing folders are a little bit different. So check with your manufacturer with what you'll want to use for the machine, but make sure that if it, you know, is a little bit too tight for the machine, don't force it through. You don't want to break anything. Just check the website and see if you can switch up the plates to make sure that it's not too tight in there. All right, then we will go in, going to lift this out of here and look at that beautiful embossed design. And with the amazing solar paste that we're about to put on top, it's really going to highlight that design even more. But I love even just embossed designs like this because it just adds so much texture and interest to a card that, like, if you kind of make your card alongside and you just add a little bit of texture to the background, it really highlights the design beautifully. All right, so for this, we're going to go in and flip it down to the debossed side again, so that design is debossed into the cardstock going in. We're gonna grab out our sticky mat again from Altenew. I'll use this side that I've already kind of messed up a little bit with our paste. Gonna stick it right down into there. And then we'll go in with a couple of our solar paste. Let's go in with some reds. So I'll go in with a little bit of Cross My Heart. We'll do Overheated. Let's see, yeah, let's do those. And then we'll do a little bit of Royal Flush too. Let's do kind of a Halloween color. Why not? We're not gonna make a full Halloween card, but hey, you could totally use this for Halloween when it comes along. Okay, so we'll go in starting off with a little bit of Twin Flame. For this, I'm going to go in to my paste, and I'm going to bring a little bit out onto my glass surface and just swipe it down. Okay, so just swipe it right across the surface. Then I'm going to go in with my brayer. So I really like this brayer. This is the small distress brayer. I love the size of it, and it works really well. Now it does have these little feet, so you want to make sure that when you're using the brayer, you don't use it with the feet facing down like this, because then that's going to just kind of not roll. You want this to roll onto your surface, so like this, okay? So you'll go into your paste. You don't want to apply too much, so I did a very thin layer over here. And then I'm going to roll this into my paste to get it fully coated all over. Okay, so you want your brayer fully coated, and then we'll go in and we'll start brayering down onto our surface, and check that out. So this brayer is amazing because it's firmer than the paste spreaders. So the paste spreaders are going to give you more of a kind of a painted on effect, and it will go more into the design. Whereas with this brayer, it's kind of a hard silicone, okay? So when you're going and rolling onto the surface, it's going to highlight whatever area you have. So this is on the debossed side. So it's highlighting the background because that's the most raised surface. And then it's leaving the debossed area that is black, it's leaving it black to highlight that design beautifully. So that's where a brayer really comes in handy. So if you have these pastes, a brayer is amazing. If you don't have a brayer, definitely grab one. They're not too expensive, but they really bring a whole new life to your pastes, okay? So you'll definitely want one after this live stream. It really helps to apply your pastes in just a different way. Okay, then we'll go in, let's go into a little bit of Cross My Heart, which is this kind of pinkish red color. Actually, let's do the new one. Let's not go too Halloween here. Let's do a lighter pink. We'll go in with a little bit of Pity Party. Okay, grab this, going to put this right down onto my surface, and again, nice and thin. You don't want too much. If it's globbing on your brayer, it's going to go into the areas. So if you want to just highlight the areas, you want to just grab a little bit. Notice how I'm not rolling through the whole pile, right? You'll grab a little bit, keep lifting your brayer as you go through, and just coat your brayer a very little amount. Do you see how little of the paste I have on here? You can actually see the brayer still through. And that's what's going to give you just enough to roll onto the surface, but not too much where it's going to go underneath and down into that design. Okay? And yes, the idea is for it to be nice and firm so that it doesn't go down into the debossed area. Okay? So I know some brayers are a little bit less firm than others. Some are more squishy than others. You want one that's more firm to really get that beautiful color and shading. Check that out. I love that. And you know what? This pink has kind of a purpley hue to it. So why not? We'll go in with a little bit of Cross My Heart next. So we'll skip a little bit of Royal Flush this time, and we'll go in with a little bit of Cross My Heart to finish it off with a little bit of red. All right, so we'll go in, grab that down, and apply that down at the bottom here. So then last but not least, we'll go in at the bottom. Again, make sure we're not applying too much down to our brayer. So if you notice you have a little bit too much, just go outside of it and roll a little bit to roll some of it off. And then we'll go in and apply some down at the bottom of our design. And I mean, it looks absolutely amazing when you do something like this. Check that out. Less is definitely more with the brayer. So you can see that's more of like a pinkish red color. This is more pink lavender. So this is Cross My Heart and Pity Party. And up here we have Twin Flame, which is that really nice, bright, almost guppy colored orange. So that is using the brayer on the debossed side, and it's going to highlight the background with the actual paste. And then the actual design is going to stay whatever color cardstock it is. So if it's black cardstock, it's going to be highlighted in black. If it's white cardstock, it's going to stay nice and bright white. Really cool, isn't it? I absolutely love that. Okay. Now let me show you guys how to highlight the design. We're going to go in with a little bit of, let's see, what should we do now? Let's highlight the design using this. So here is a little bit different. This is the woven 3D embossing folder, which has this really cool basket weave texture all throughout it. And you'll see that when we highlight it, it's going to create a really cool effect. So this is the debossed side. I'm using the embossed side now. Okay, and let's clean these off really quickly. So I'll just go in with a little bit of water. And I'm just going to wipe these up. Now remember, you can always dip a piece of cardstock if you want in there, like I showed you in past videos, to get a really nice background. But I just want to clean this for now so we can move on to the next portion. You can clean your brayer pretty easily too, but if the color is kind of dry on there, it doesn't really matter if it's super clean. And let's go in with like greens and blues now. So I'm going to go in with, let's do a little bit of Trust Fund. Let's do some Deep End, and then let's do Royal Flush. So why not? Like a green, blue, and a purple. Really cool, okay? And let me wipe off my palette knife too, because there's a lot of colors going on here on all my tools. We'll grab out a little bit of Trust Fund first. And I haven't tested out what this embossing folder is going to look like, okay? So we'll see. We'll see what this folder is going to look like. So we'll roll this right through. And again, this is the embossed side for the basket weave. Now, some embossing folders are going to work better than others, so we'll see how this one goes. And if you want, if you're only hitting just the very raised areas, use a little bit more pressure. And that's one thing I do like about this brayer. It has just the tiniest little bit of squish. So if you go in and you apply more pressure down, you'll get a little bit more into the areas. But you see, look, that's actually really, really cool. It's going to give us kind of a springtime effect. But I love this. That's Trust Fund. There's this kind of nice light kind of dollar green color. But what I love about this one is it highlights all of that wood grain texture throughout the weave, and it really gives the embossing folder a whole new life. It really highlights the embossed design really beautifully. So this woven folder works amazing for it too. Definitely pick up this folder if you want to. It is an amazing design. I know it was really hot last year for spring, because this kind of basket weave gives you such a cool effect when you ink it or when you layer paste over it, just like this. Okay, now we'll go in next with a little bit of Deep End, put down a little bit of that paste. Yay, Tammy, you said you got a brayer just because of me. You still have yet to use it though, but this is your time. Now that you're seeing it again, you gotta pull out your brayer and play with it, because it is really a fun technique to just highlight your designs and apply your paste down onto your backgrounds, just like this. What a cool effect. Oh my gosh. It is amazing. And you know what, down here, maybe let's, instead of purple, let's do a little bit of yellow. I'm gonna do a little bit of golden hour down there to keep it really nice and bright and kind of springy. I love these colors for spring. I know lately blue has kind of been trending in design. And so I know blue is a really beautiful color for spring, this kind of like mid-tone, lighter blue color. It is just gorgeous. And this one is called Deep End. I love that. And then we'll go in with a little bit of golden hour and roll that on. And again, keep it very minimal to the amount that you put on your brush, especially when you have little details like this wood grain. If you don't want it to fill in that wood grain, you're going in with the smallest amount. You see that? Very little amount. And go in and roll it on. Okay. And you're just getting such an incredible color effect. So here is with that woven emboss design, and this is on the emboss design. So this is where the design is coming out towards you. The last one that we did with that Damask folder, that was on the debossing. So most of the details are gonna stay black on that folder, whereas if you highlight the embossing, it's gonna highlight the most raised areas on the folder. Really, really amazing. So I thought I'd show with two different folder designs. But before the live stream started, I did do one with the Damask, highlighting the embossing too. So I thought I'd show you that too. So that way you can see what it looks like with just the same folder. Because like I said, every folder reacts a little bit differently. So here are both the same folders. Again, this is the debossing, and this is the highlighting of the emboss design. Very different effects that you get there. Both are really gorgeous. But I wanted to show you just how amazing it is to pull out your brayer and use that along with your solar pastes on your design to really highlight it beautifully, and it gives you a completely different look than what we got with the paste spreaders. Really, really cool, right? But now let me step this up a notch, okay? So now we're gonna go in and let's use that Damask folder again. We'll bring in the Damask. We'll also bring in a different design in just a second here, but I'm gonna bring back in pretty much these same colors. Let's go in with a little bit of Deep End first. We don't need to reload this, and we'll just hit the raised areas of that Damask. Now you probably can't see where I'm applying it here because it's harder to see on white cardstock on camera than it is the black cardstock. Now I can see it pretty clearly in person. It's got a little bit of a blue shine to it. Unfortunately, the camera has a much harder time at picking it up on the white cardstock because it kind of blows out the shine before you're actually able to see the color. But what I'm gonna do is go in and do that same brayering technique to just highlight the raised areas of this design really beautifully, okay? We can go in with a little bit of green too if we want to, kind of mix together those colors and highlight those raised areas really beautifully. So just go in, make sure it's all covered. I think that should be good. And yes, I don't know if you guys can see that. You can at least see a little bit of the shine, okay? I assure you the color is more there in real life, but you can see that shine there. We'll go in and cover it a little bit more in some areas. Okay, just like that. Now, I'm gonna set this off to the side to dry for a second. I wanna do it with another folder. Let's go in with this folder. This one's called Plaster. And this folder is incredible, look at that. Do you see all those little bubbles and stuff in there? This folder looks like it was actual plaster that was put down on a card or like frosting on a cake. It is really cool, all of the little details you have in here. Shout out to the team at Spellbinders, and especially Virgie, who's one of the designers of the embossing folders. She does an amazing job at all of our designs, and for this one, I gave her a challenge. I was like, okay, I have this picture I want kind of this plaster design, and we couldn't get it quite right. We kept tweaking the design, and it just wasn't perfect. So what's awesome about this one is she actually created this. Okay, she did a whole canvas of actual plaster, and we sent this off to our manufacturer, and they created it off of the real piece of artwork that she did. So huge shout out to the team at Spellbinders. They do such an amazing job dedicating themselves to really creating some really cool products. And this one is one that we released several years ago, and it's withstood the test of time. So you guys better keep buying it because this one's one of my favorites, and I don't want it to retire. I keep using it on almost all my projects because it's that amazing. And we're gonna go in, let's use a little bit of reds. No, let's keep it with blues and stuff. Okay, we'll go in with a little bit of deep end here. I know the camera doesn't show it on white. I wish that it did, but it doesn't show it as much, but know that the color is gonna be there, but you'll see what we're doing here because it will highlight those areas in just a second. So we're going in with a little bit of green now. And then lastly, we'll go in with a little bit of, let's do Neptune. I love this Neptune color. It is amazing. Yay, Paula says she loves that one. She finally caved and got it. It is an amazing folder. It's honestly one of the best in my collection. Yay, a lot of you guys are saying you have the folder. Gloria says she loves it. She uses it all the time. V. Barden says she needs the plaster folder. I agree. It is one of my top most used folders. So we're gonna run this right through. What did I use here? I think I used Trust Fund. And this one's a little bit different, right? It's gonna react differently because you see, it's gonna hit those raised areas, but the raised areas in this one are a little bit more jagged, whereas this one, it's more like uniform, the same design all throughout. This one, who knows what we're gonna get, which I think is kind of the fun part about it. So we'll roll through Trust Fund, we'll bring in a little bit of deep end, and you'll see, as we're doing this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's covering up more of that area. You can see by the shine, it's really hitting more of those raised areas. So I think this one's gonna be really cool for the next technique that we're trying to do here. So for this technique, and there's paste coming off my thing here now. Because this is silicone, some of that red paste is coming off. So I guess you do want to clean before it dries on there. So it's the same kind of silicone that's in my spatulas here, it's just more firm. So I'll be able to wipe it off after it's dry, no worries. And then lastly, we'll bring in a little bit of Neptune to finish off those areas. All right, beautiful. So we've hit this with a lot of paste. Look at that, do you see? You would at least see all the shine. If you can't see the color, you can still see that really great shine that's all over the background. Okay, now before we do the next part of this technique, we're gonna clean, because look at this mess that we've got going on here. So, we're gonna go in and clean it off of our, oh look, yep, a little bit of water, and once it's dry, it wipes right off. There's a lot of paste here, so I wanna go in with a scrap piece of cardstock, and I'm just gonna tap this right into here. And look at that, I mean, already, you've got the most beautiful, stunning paste background. And so this is cool because once this dries, this is going to really become a background that you can die cut out of or use on your card projects, but it keeps all of that texture pattern in there. So really amazing. Yep, you can salvage the extra paste. So Gwen asked, can you salvage it? You definitely can. Start dipping a piece of cardstock into it because look, it looks like a hot mess until it kind of dries and then it's really pretty. This one's that kind of green color, but then you can use this for die cutting. So I love that you can then like die cut words out of this or die cut like a butterfly out of this. I think that would be really pretty. And I think the best part about it is you can keep layering into this to kind of build up that color. So if it wasn't strong enough for you at first, like look at that and it'll keep all of that really cool texture in there because it's that texture paste. So definitely use the extra paste, definitely don't waste it. And it is absolutely amazing. So this one is already dry now that we've done all of that and cleaned off of our surface. So now we can go in and apply a little bit of color. I'm gonna go in with my new small ink blending brushes. Like I said, these new mini ink blending brushes are back in stock at Ranger, so check them out. You can get 12 for the price of 10, which is an amazing deal, but they're also at scrapbook.com, and if you use code THANKYOU over there, all one word, you get 11% off. So that's a great deal too if you want to pick up everything at once. But I have these inside of a lipstick holder. What I love about them though is I just have one for each color family. So you can have one for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then you won't have to clean it as much in between. I have one for more than that because I use these, super often, but that's what I would recommend for if you were kind of getting started with it to make it nice and easy for you to blend. Now I'm gonna go back in with my sticky mat. We'll use it on this side that's a little bit more sticky now. And this now created a resist. So you want to wait for it to dry. Okay, so this is nice and dry now. And now we can go in and do a little bit of ink blending over top of it. So let's start off with a little bit of Clear Skies. And we're gonna stick with kind of similar colors to what we used on the background. So we've used kind of blues and greens on here. So now I'm going in with kind of blues and greens to color this in. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit of that ink and start blending across the background. And you're not gonna notice a ton right now, but as we continue to blend, the areas that we applied the paste down is going to create a resist, because once it's dry, it almost becomes like a plasticky feeling layer. It's still completely flexible and it's not going to crack off of your card, but it allows your ink to then resist that design. So now we have shimmer and shine in the area where your design is highlighted, but it's also really highlighting the design because now we're going in with inks to cover over top of it, which I think is so fun. So next we'll bring in a little bit of Tropical Tango, which is this beautiful kind of greenish teal color. Oh, I love that one. It blends so smooth into clear skies then too. And I love these blending brushes because our large blending brushes are amazing for, or sorry, our medium blending brushes are amazing for going on top of designs and really filling in the whole card background super easily and quickly. But these ones are great because now we can go in with many colors on one background and really fill in and get a more detailed blend rather than covering so much surface area at once. So I love that we have the option for both of them now. All of my paste will resist, yep. So the Solar Paste, the Lunar Paste, and the Stellar Paste will resist. Astro Paste will still resist, but you won't see it as much because it's a glitter. Now with the clear ones, yes, it still resists, which is awesome. All right, let's go in with Loch Ness then, which is this darker teal color. And for this one, I use this blending brush right here. So some of these colors I have dedicated to special brush because of how much I use them and how clean I want that color to come out. But Loch Ness is one of my favorites. It's like this library greenish teal color. It is so gorgeous. It is amazing. And no, the ink will not cover the mica, but let me show you how we're gonna finish this card off once we're done to make sure that it didn't cover the mica at all. But do you see now, do you see where we applied that paste on top? So we couldn't see it earlier, but the magic is that when you apply this ink on top, that's when you really get all of that amazing depth and dimension from the color. Super cool, right? And then we'll finish it off with, let's do a little bit of, let's do some Midnight Snack at the bottom, which is this really nice navy color. So bring this right down into this navy blue. Oh, that's gorgeous. Really looks great together. I love all these blues and greens in my line. We really have a lot of great blue and green ink colors. Okay. And look, it just resisted it so beautifully. You can already see a little bit where it resisted, but now let me show you how to really bring this resist technique to life, okay? All we're gonna do is go in with a little bit of paper towel, and we're just going to buff this right off the surface. Okay, so do you see, look, it's already brighter in that area. If you want to, you can even go in with just the tiniest little mist of water to help it. But you don't need a lot of water at all. This can be a dry cloth. And you'll just go in and start buffing this off the surface. And it uncovers that mica. It brings that shine back. You can see how much ink we're pulling off of there. And it makes it a nice bright white in that design area. So now look, when we tilt it in the light, you get that really great shine. And it's got that resist technique too. So in real life, you can see that really great shine. And then you also have that beautifully resisted design. So this is a great way to get ink and color on top of the surface, but then you've highlighted the actual embossing of the design really beautifully. Now let's go in, and I wanted to just show another one. So here is a completely different folder. Like I said, with different folders, you get different effects. So let's do this with Plaster now. So with Plaster, we'll go in, let's do a little bit of yellow to start out with. So we'll bring in our yellow blending brush. This is Slippery When Wet. And again, we'll do the same kind of thing. Okay, we'll go in here, blend these colors all throughout. And in this one, I'm gonna kind of blend colors in from different areas. But this is really cool because it really highlights the kind of plaster effect of this to have the color be missing in some areas and kind of splotchy and give that really cool depth and dimension. All right, then we'll go in and we'll bring in a little bit of green. Let's bring in some Later Gator. And I want this to turn into kind of a yellowy green color. So I'm gonna bring in Later Gator and sort of blend it into that yellow, so that when it overlaps, we sort of get a lime color in between. And just keep blending it on. But again, in this, you can see there's a lot more of that resisted area all over the design. I know, it looks like real stucco, it really does. It looks like real plaster, which I think is amazing. Okay, then let's go in, let's do a little bit more blue. I'm gonna do this, clear skies again. And we'll blend that all throughout the background. So here now you can see completely different folder will give you a really different look, because in this one, there's a lot more paste. You're getting a lot less color, but it still creates such a gorgeous effect once you're completed. And lastly, I'll go down in this corner and blend it together. And so when the yellow and blue blends together, it creates a green, and then we've got that green in there too, as well as the yellow, which I think is stunning. Again, we can go in now with a paper towel. We'll flip to a cleaner side. And look now, when we wipe it off, that really great bright white comes out, and it starts to really wipe off that ink. We can go to a clean side and just keep wiping until it's nice and clean. Look at that. Yes, this folder is called Plaster. It is linked down below, so if you want to find any of the links, you can find them down below, but look at that. So a completely different effect. You can see this one just hit the raised areas, but because there's a lot more raised areas in this one, it just hit that area of the design, and then the rest of the background was very colorful. Whereas Plaster is a completely different folder. So with that, there's a lot more raised areas and kind of imperfections in this folder where there's really open areas. So it gives you more areas where you can kind of spread on that paste, which again, it gives such a realistic look. I mean, look at all those little details in there. It looks like you really plastered this, and it gives it such a great 3D effect, really highlights the raised areas beautifully of this folder. I'm obsessed with it. How cool is that, right? So really cool to use alongside inks and get these beautiful resisted techniques. I love it. Okay, now before we move into the next technique, we are gonna do a giveaway. So scrapbook.com has offered a $50 gift certificate to one of you guys who leaves a comment. So let me ask a question. My friend Ellie Colo is gonna be in the chat here, and she's going to pick a winner from the chat. So let's see, what should my question be tonight? What is your favorite one of these techniques? Let's do that. So do you like the embossing with the paste spreaders? Do you like the Brayer tool, or do you like this really fun resist technique? Let me know in the comments right now. We will pick a winner in about 30 seconds to a minute, so leave all your comments in here. I would love to see. And again, thank you to scrapbook.com. Such a generous prize for all of you. They are huge supporters of my product line, huge supporters of Pastepalooza and all this amazing education going on. Sweet, Cindy Kelly, you've won the $50 SBC gift card. Send an email to me. You see it in the chat there. It's nice and pinned, and we will get that prize right out to you. So congrats to Cindy Kelly. Thank you so much for watching, and everyone who's in the live chat right now, thank you again. I really appreciate it. All right, now for the last technique before we get into the actual making of the cards today, I wanted to show you another way to do inking and then apply the paste on top that's not a resist. So it'll give you a full color impact, and it will really highlight that design beautifully still. Okay, so to do this, we're gonna go in, let's do the Plaster embossing folder again. So let's use that Plaster embossing folder. I love that. We'll place that right down onto our sticky mat. And for this one, let's do similar colors. Why not? No, let's do something different. Let's do warm tones. I'm indecisive, but I'm gonna do warmer tones. So let's pull in a couple of my favorite colors here. I love this color combination. I mean, why not, right? This color combination is amazing. So yeah, let's do this. We're gonna start off with a little bit of Love Bomb. I love Love Bomb. It is one of my faves. It's this nice dark maroonish red color. We're going to bring that in at the bottom of our card and blend it down. And I mean, look, even when you just blend this down with your small little blending brushes, it still gives you such an amazing technique because it still highlights the raised and lowered effects of it. But I love it. So fun. So we'll start by blending down this Love Bomb color at the bottom of the card. Then we will move on in and blend into the pink. So for pink, I think I'm gonna let's use Stupid Cupid. Stupid Cupid is one of my favorites. It is like this warm toned kind of peachy pink color. And I'll blend that in. We'll skip a little bit of Prom Queen today. Yeah, Mrs. Whitlock says that Plaster embossing folder is her favorite. I agree. It really is. It's a great one. So the day that this gets retired, I'm gonna be very sad. I am not going to be looking forward to that day because it's one of my favorites to use. It just gives you such kind of an artistic effect, but also it can be a lot of different things, like depending on how you color this in. It could just be a textured background that gives you kind of a mixed media effect, but it could also be like waves if you use it with blue, or you could do like pinks and make it look like frosting for a birthday card. So there really is a lot of different effects you can do with this. That's why I think it's so popular, because it makes such a versatile embossing folder. So look at that, like even when you just blend, you see all that really great highlighting of the embossing background that you get. I love it. So we'll go in and blend this down. Okay. Then last but not least, we'll go in with a little bit of yellow. So I'll bring this in. This is a little bit of shooting star. And we're going to blend that right in on top. I know, right? It looks completely different. Like look at with these reds and the oranges, you can see it gives a completely different effect than what we had with the blues and the greens earlier. So it really is. It's like the shape-shifting embossing folder of the century, right? Okay. So once we've got that all applied with our inks, now we can start the really fun technique of adding our solar pastes on top. But the awesome part about this is you still get the full color intensity, right? We're not covering up the color intensity, and we don't have white spots because we resisted it. So if you like that full color intensity, this is for you. And then we can go in and highlight the design. So here I'm going to use similar colors to the colors that I used underneath. So here I'll use a little bit of golden hour. And look, all you need to do is go in with your finger. You can also use a sponge if you want to, which I'll show you in just a second actually. So here I'm gonna go in with my finger to start out with. And when you do this, you still wanna be able to see the pad of your finger. Do you still see through it below? I'm not using too much because I don't wanna put it all over. You can even tap off to the side before you go on to get rid of some of the paste before you go onto the design. Then once I go on, I can go in and spread it across the top layer of the design to highlight it really beautifully. So I'll just go in and highlight this design really beautifully, just hitting the raised areas. And again, there's more raised areas in this folder than there are in other ones because the details are a little bit more spread out. So we'll just go in and apply as much paste as we want down. And so with this, it doesn't lighten the color at all, because when you apply the paste so thin like this, it does have a white base, but when you apply the paste so thin, it tends to actually only be semi-opaque and sometimes even transparent. So you can still see all the color in there, but then when you tilt in the light, you get that really great golden glow on top of it. And so you can choose the colors that sort of match your project. So here I'll use a little bit of Twin Flame. You don't need to wait for the ink to dry. So the thing about the Simon Hurley or Stellar inks is when you apply them down into the surface, they're technically pretty much dry into the surface. Like they're not gonna come off on your fingers. However, inside of the cardstock, they are still wet. So they might still be moist inside of the cardstock. That's why if you do embossing on top, like heat embossing, you'll have to dry it. But if you're just doing a technique like this, your ink is pretty much already dry. So now I'm going to apply a little bit down onto the surface, and then I can pick it up inside of a blending sponge. And now I can go on and do the same technique. So if you don't love getting your fingers messy, this might be the one for you. I like to use the pads of my fingers just because I can really feel how much control I have with my finger. But with this, you can kind of get a similar amount of control. You just want to go very light-handed in here with this sponge. And it'll still just hit the raised areas there. It probably gets more than your finger would. Like you can see, yeah, more got covered than my finger would. That's the part about using your finger where it is helpful. But if you, if you don't want to do that, if you're too sensitive to apply it to your finger, then go in and apply this with a sponge. You can still get a very similar effect. Just go in with a very light hand as you do it. Now you might like that effect. You might like that it covers more of it and gives you more of a metallic effect all the way across. But I'm telling you, if you want to just highlight specific areas, maybe it's best to use your finger. Okay, then we'll go back in, put this away. I do love this new tool for pulling out pastes too. It's just really easy to do, and I love that it's perfectly sized to fit inside of the jars. Then next we'll use a little bit of Pity Party. We'll apply it down into the pink. Thank you. Lori says she loves the blending. I agree. I think this is a beautiful color blend. It's really nice and bold and vibrant. Oh, that pink color on top of there is gorgeous. So that's Pity Party. And again, if you want to use more paste and this tool, you'll get more of a glow all the way across. And I mean, that's beautiful too. Dare I say, I might even like that better than just doing the raised areas, but it depends. Like this design maybe calls for that more, whereas if you're using a design where like maybe that damask, maybe you just want the raised areas. So it just depends on you and what kind of look that you want when you're doing it. But I love to just show all of the different techniques that you can really try and play with whatever you want whenever you're creating. All right, then let's finish it off with a little bit of red. We'll do Cross My Heart. Spread that down onto the surface. This is more of kind of a reddish pink color. And now you will notice when you go onto a really dark color, you'll notice it more, but still, once it's dry, you can still see it maybe dulled it just a tiny little bit, but look, when you look at it straight on, you can barely tell that anything is there on any of these colors, right? Really awesome. That's the amazing part about solar paste, is it basically disappears until you tilt it in the light, and then you see that really, really amazing shine on top of all of these beautiful colors. I love it. So amazing. And so all of that shine really brings this background to life. So again, whenever you're using the paste with ink on the embossing folders, you don't need to do the resist techniques. You can just go in and blend the ink down and then put the paste over top like you usually would, and you'll just get a really beautifully shiny background with that colored shine on top of the ink. And like I said, you can't really see the actual color to the shine until you're here in real life, and you'll be able to see like, you know, the pink shine and the red shine. You can actually see it individually, but the camera kind of blows it all out and just makes it look like kind of white shine when it's really individual colors of shine. But it is so, so stunning. I love it. Okay, let me clean this up really quickly, and then we'll go into card making and finish off one of our backgrounds, because I have a really fun product that I want to get back into. So we'll just go in here and clean this off. Now, when you're using a sponge like this, what you want to do is take off your sponge, go to the sink and wash this out. If you leave it and you don't wash it out, it'll kind of become crusty and unusable. So you want to make sure to wash out all of your tools. Even these sponges are reusable. So go bring them under the sink, wash them and wring them out until they come nice and clear, and then you're ready to use it again on your next project. All right, so finishing this off, let's go in and wipe off our background. Cheryl asked, how do I come up with the colors? Me and my mom actually come up with the colors to my inks and pastes. We have a ton of fun, and we just kind of come up with things that we think are funny, but relate back to the color. And hopefully our goal is to just kind of make you guys smile as you're using your supplies. So we want it to be fun and playful. Okay, so let's recap a little bit. I think this has been so much fun. So this is what that one looks like where we put all that color inside of the stars. So look how gorgeous that looks once it's dry. Really beautiful. And again, you can see it's more concentrated in the areas where it's inside of the stars and looks really beautiful. That was with the silicone paste spreaders. The same thing along with this background. We created spreading it on top, and then we went through a stencil to highlight certain areas of it. And this is using the Emboss design with the paste spreader. Okay. Then we went through and we did a bunch of techniques using our brayer. So we did it on the debossed design like this. We did it on the embossed design like this, and you get really beautiful effects. We even did it with a couple different folders to show you the amazing looks you can get with the different designs in your folder. Then we finish it off with doing some resist techniques using the paste first and then applying ink over top to get that really great highlighted effect on top of your embossing folders. That really highlights the designs. Again, this plaster folder is gorgeous. And then last but not least, we finish it off with doing ink blending and then doing the actual paste on top. So you get really solid and bold color, and you just get amazing, brilliant shine on top. I love it. So tons of techniques using the solar paste and your embossing folders with different tools like the spreaders, the brayer, and even your foam tools and your inks to really get amazing effects on there. All right, now we just did a lot of different backgrounds, but I want to go in and use this specific background that I created to go in and create a card with. So this is the one that we created with the silicone paste spreader. We spread it on top of the embossing. This is the Starry Night folder, and then we highlighted it with some of those stencils to really bring some of those stars to life. So let's finish off this design beautifully. To finish this off, I'm gonna go in with the rest of the products from that collection. This is the Space collection from me. I forgot exactly what it's called, maybe Space Friends or something like that. It has that Starry Night folder and also stencils inside of it, but it also has this really fun UFO inside of it with that alien inside. It has this really great to the moon die set with this super fun rocket ship and moon and stars, and then a really great sentiment set that has all of these different sentiments in this kind of space themed font to go along with it. So a really great set of products. Again, I'll have these all linked down below. You can check them out down below in the product supplies. But I wanted to let you know that Spellbinders, if you go through the Spellbinders links, they have them on sale right now, really cheap. If you get the bundle, I think it's like $30 instead of $60 for the whole bundle of supplies. So really amazing. Check that out if you're interested. I know scrapbook.com has them on sale too. It's fun to go back inside of different collections like this and show you guys how to use and create with them because you can especially get them at a nice discount right now. And remember, use code THANKYOU at scrapbook.com for that 11% off of your entire order as well, which is amazing. So for this, I've already pre-die cut a lot of the pieces from the To the Moon set and also the different sentiments. So I can show you how easily it is to put them together. This is inside of the Craft Stax Spellbinders containers. I love these things because they're stackable, but they also have lids, which is super important to me. So you can keep them nice and safe while you're doing your crafting. Okay. So I like to always do a little bit of blending and shading across my designs. As you guys know, I cannot help myself sometimes when it comes to adding shading. It really brings your die cuts to life. And these new small blending brushes from my line really make the shading super easy to do because you can do it on smaller areas now. So all you need to do is go in here, and I'm just gonna bring this on the edge. I'm using a little bit of Woof, which is my light gray color, and it'll just bring a little bit of shading and dimension in from the edge. And if you want to make something look 3D, I just like to add a little bit of color all around the edge, and that will make it look dimensional, leaving that center area nice and light. It almost makes it look domed then, because this would be the furthest away from you, so it's the darkest. Okay. Then we'll go in, and I'm going to also add a little bit of shading and depth down to some of the smaller pieces using Shady. I'll use my darker gray blending brush. And I'm gonna go in here. Now on these wings or anything that connects to a body, so if you have like arms or wings or things like that, you're gonna go in and tap off some color because you don't want too much, but you're gonna go in and bring that in from the area that it's going to meet with, okay? So wherever it meets, like here, it's gonna meet the rocket ship. So I'll add some darkness in there so that it can add some depth and dimension there because it looks like it's 3D then. Now, if you get lost and you don't know where to add the depth or dimension, just kind of add ink around the edge. That usually is helpful because that's usually where it would be. So if you're getting lost and you're like, hey, Simon, this is too much, you know, I don't know exactly where to put this on my die cuts, just add ink around the die cuts because that will just bring it to life. Like even just a little bit of ink on the edges will bring it to life. You don't need to know exactly why you're doing it, but I'm telling you, adding the die cut together, whether it's 3D or whether you're just using flat colors of cardstock, makes a huge difference in how the project looks in the end. So I'll go in on these little spacers too. You can also just go in holding it up in the air and just tapping on some color with your blending brush on the edge like that. And these brushes do an amazing job because it's not like a sponge. You're not getting a harsh mark or anything like that. You are just hitting the edges, and because it's a bunch of little tiny bristles, you're not getting any harsh areas where it touches it. You're just getting a nice, even and smooth blend across the design. So I love that. Okay, now that is pretty much good. That's about as much as dimension as I'm gonna add. Now, if I was sitting by myself, I might even add some more on some of these littler pieces, but it's not necessary on every little piece, but I really just do it to the large pieces from my die cutting collection. Okay. Now, let's go in and do some adhering. So I'm gonna use some of my Barely Arts liquid glue here, and we're gonna start off by adding down these little bands onto my design. So you see these little areas where that debossing is. So that debossing is where you're going to apply the pieces. Spellbinders makes this really easy. Do you see the debossing for the wing too? So we're gonna follow those lines to kind of puzzle piece our die cut together. Now, as I'm doing this, Spellbinders also has this set of tools they just recently came out with. It's got 3 tools and also a little tweezers. I love this set. It's linked down below. It is by far one of my favorites. I like when they're just tools themselves and they're not like a gimmick where it's all in one tool. Those seem like they break to me a little bit easier. So what I love about these two is they have the cap, and the cap goes on the back so you're not gonna lose it, and they're nice and sturdy and solid. So I especially love this pick, and then it also has a nice sticky tool, which I use this sticky wax tipped tool a lot as well. So I'll apply a little bit of glue down. Let me make sure that that's nice and clean. I'll apply some glue down to those debossed areas, like a puzzle, in the tip of the rocket ship. And then we'll go in with our wax tip and we'll start applying these pieces down right onto those debossed areas. Very easy to do. So pick it up with that wax tip. Look how nice that tool is to have. And then we'll stick it right down into the debossed areas. Now for the tip of the rocket ship, I'm going to use this little red piece of cardstock and adhere right at the tip, just like that. And so now we have kind of the details of our rocket ship nice and completed. Now we can start adding our wings down. So I'm going to go in and add some glue down onto that area where that debossing is for that wing. And we'll go in and apply that right down. So super easy again to follow. It's just like a little puzzle. And then for the back wings, it's very easy to do because these back wings also have a little debossed line. Do you guys see that? Very faint, but you can see it a lot better in person. But that debossed line is where we're going to add the glue and we're going to add it to the back. Now I like to line these up with the edge of this right here, and I'll just place it on the back and it goes up until that debossed area. So just like that. We'll do the same thing on the other wing. So again, put a little bit of glue onto the back and put it up until that debossed line on the back of the cardstock. Really nice and easy to do. Okay, so this rocket ship is coming together really nicely. I know this themed collection is really great. Spellbinders did such an amazing job at designing this one with me and really bringing the vision to life here. So let's go in and apply this window down now. So this window is going to go behind the rest of the design. So all you need to do is add a little bit of glue behind it. And then you're going to center that debossed circle right inside. So throw it right inside of that window area, and it's going to glue down really easily. And don't worry if any glue spills out there, you can always just wipe that off with your finger. This Barely Arts liquid glue is matte, so you don't have to worry about that. Then we'll go in to the center and apply a little bit of glue down. And I cut this piece out of blue to make it look like a window. And there's a little highlighted area too. I cut that out of a piece of white cardstock, and we'll just stick that detail right inside, just like that. So it makes it look like a dimensional window then. Okay, really great. We're on a roll here. Then we will go in with our little exhaust pipe and glue that right down to the bottom of the card. So we'll add a little bit of liquid glue down to there, and that will stick right down on the bottom of our rocket ship, right behind the wing. Just like that. Okay. And once we've added that down, we're now going to do our flame. So for the flame, I love this cardstock. This is the new cardstock from scrapbook.com. This stuff's really cool because it's got this like canvas texture to it, but it also, do you see that shine? It also has a shine to it. It's incredible. Let me try to find a piece here. No, it's not that one, it's these. Oh, these are amazing. Look at this. So it comes in a bunch of different colors, but look how glossy it is. It's got that texture and that like sparkly shine. I've linked this down below. I think that they still have some in stock. Their cardstock is going really fast, but they have a couple packs of these A2 panels in stock of this glimmery cardstock and a couple other of their packs. Make sure it's the glimmer one before you buy it if you want the shimmery effect, because they have a couple different packs and types of cardstock. But this glimmer one is really cool because you get just like sparkly effect. Now, of course, if you want sparkle to your cardstock, you can also add down a little bit of solar paste, but I thought I would use this cardstock because it's pretty cool. I like that canvas texture to it too. So I'll definitely be using this for die cutting more in the future when it's more widely available, because I know that it is selling fast right now. All right, we'll glue that right down behind the exhaust, so then it looks like that really great shiny flame is sticking at the end. I know. Lori says, I love that new cardstock. It is really cool. So that is the finished rocket ship. It looks so fun in 3D. And look, because of that shading, it just really brings this to life. It makes it look more circular and 3D on our card. Now for the moon, I've also cut it out of that really great sparkly canvas cardstock that they have. And all you need to do for this moon is cut it out of a lighter colored yellow and a darker colored yellow, and that will just layer it right on top of each other. And all you do, place it right on top of each other. And I love that for the moon too, because it creates a little bit of texture to the moon. And it looks amazing. So look, that little bit of texture is kind of fun for the moon too. I love that. And it gives it a little bit of shine and dimension too. and let's finish off the card really easily. So for this, I'm gonna go in with a stark white card base. These are already pre-cut and scored. So all you need to do is score it, fold it down, and use your bone folder to crease it. I love these pre-cut and scored card bases because it doesn't take you out of crafting. You just get to really easily fold it down and you're ready to keep going, which is really nice. Now I'm gonna use a piece of navy color wheel cardstock from Spellbinders for the background of this because I want a nice dark colored cardstock. So I think that is gonna be perfect. So I'm going to adhere this right down onto the card, just like this. And whenever I'm adhering a piece down, I always start at the top edge like this. If it's a top folding card, then I'll adhere it along the edge to make sure that it lines up beautifully. And that should line things up on the rest of the card. So once it's aligned, you can place it all down and we're good to go. Okay, so then should we add a little bit more dimension to this? One thing that you're able to do if you want to, which I think is kind of fun, is you can go in with these stencils from that Starry Night stencil pack, and I'm not gonna do all of them. I'm just gonna do layer number 3 for that stencil. And I'm gonna go in here, let's bring in a little bit of mint tape so that I don't move the stencil at all. And then I'm gonna go in with my blending brush. This is the small blending brush, and we'll go in with a little bit of Midnight Snack. And we're just able to go into those stars and blend them down. And this is gonna give us a nice tone on tone effect, but it will just kind of finish off the card and give us a little bit more detail. So if you want more detail to your card, these stencils are amazing. Of course, they coordinate along with the embossing folder beautifully, but also don't forget you can use them on your own. You don't need to just use them just with the embossed design. You can also use them on a regular background like this to give you a little bit more detail to your card. Okay, so just going in with my small blending brush to blend this out. And I love these blending brushes too. Instead of using a sponge for something like this, because there's so many corners in this, the brushes, because they have little bristles that get into all the details, will give you a much sharper blend than, like, let's say a foam blending tool in this case. Okay. Then we will lift this off nice and gently, and look at that. You just get little stars that are nice and tone on tone in the background. So of course, it's not too much, but it's these little details that count and really help to bring your card to life. Really simple little things like that add a lot of texture and dimension. Because now we can go in, we can add this onto the other side. That's gonna really be the star of the show, but I love that there's still stars on the other side to kind of complete it and make it look like a nighttime sky. So fun. Okay, then we're gonna go in with our clear foam tape. Now this clear foam tape isn't available right now. You guys have been going nuts over it. But I love this stuff, especially for dark backgrounds that I'm adhering down. This is gonna be really nice because you won't be able to see the clear tape once you're done with it. So I'm gonna go in with a couple little pieces of this and put it right onto the background. But especially for a background where I'm doing really dark colors like this, the clear tape really comes in handy. So I press it down nice and good to make sure the backer is gonna come off after we're done. That's my biggest thing. If you feel like you're pulling up your tape as you're trying to get off the backer, you probably didn't stick it down hard enough. So I just like to go in and make sure to stick it down with lots of pressure, and that'll make taking off the backer a lot easier. What I'm gonna do now is again line this up with the top of our card, and then line it up along the edge, and that should line it up all the way down. And then we're going to stick this right down. And that foam tape grips on right away and is nice and stuck. And then look, the awesome part about it is usually with foam tape, you're able to see like the white foam tape underneath. Nope, this stuff, you can't see it at all. It is completely clear, so it blends into the background, so it almost looks dark like this navy background. You're not seeing anything underneath. Of course, you're still gonna see the tape a little bit, but you're not seeing like a bright white tape, which I really love. Really helps to give it a nice finished look. So then I want to adhere down this rocket ship, probably somewhere about right there. Let's say like right there-ish. I think that's probably good. Or like maybe there. Let's do something like this. And then we'll put the sentiment maybe over here. So to adhere this down, I'm gonna use these little spinners for the card. I grabbed these at scrapbook.com. Again, you can find them down in the link below. But basically with these little tiny spinners, one of the parts will be stuck down to your card, one of the parts will be stuck down to an image, and it makes it spin really easily onto your card. So all you need for this is a little bit of liquid glue. I'm gonna grab a little bit and I'm going to add that glue right down to the bottom. And I don't really know if there's a correct side for these. So we'll just add a little bit of glue down to them. And then we'll add this right down onto our card. I want to find a flat area to do it. Okay, it's already spinning. You want it to just let it dry on the surface there, and then we'll go in and add the moon right down on top and hold it in place while it's drying. And then once it's nice and dry, look at that. I mean, how fun is that? It's not perfectly centered, you can see, but it doesn't really matter. It just gives that really cool spinning effect. And honestly, I kind of like when it's not perfectly centered, because then when you're moving around the card, it moves like this. So it creates this really fun moon that's spinning on your card. Of course, if you wanted to, you can make your rocket ship spin, but I wanted that to be more kind of vertical on the card like this. And then we'll adhere this right down onto our card, just like that. And then we need room for the sentiment. So I'm going to do the sentiment right over here. So we'll do love you. And then it's going to say to the moon and back. And for this, I've already cut it out of navy cardstock, and I've done purple on top of it to really help that stand out beautifully. Now for this, instead of using liquid adhesive, let's try that new Arden Creative pen. So again, this was the free gift at scrapbook.com. I always love testing out their free gifts, because why would you not add this to your order, right? Anything free really makes your order like a little bit more worth it, right? Because you get free things with it. So I'm gonna just use this and kind of run it along our project. Do I need to get it started in some way? Oh, I'm holding it the wrong way. Okay, I'm gonna run this along the project. Oh, that's fun. It's like a little tape runner, and it gives you a little dotted adhesive in there. But I like the little kind of clickable nature of it. It makes it really handy. So we'll go in here and we'll do love you. Put that kind of next to the rocket ship, just like that. Adhere that down. Then we'll go in and do to the moon. Oh, that's handy. Okay, I like that. We'll do to the moon. Add that down. I need to get more of these. This is a good time. I think it's really easy too. And then we'll do and back right below it. Oh, that's awesome. So look at that card. Here is that finished look. Again, that background was made with the Starry Night stencil. Of course, we used the paste silicone spreaders to apply our solar paste down with all of that amazing shine. And then went back through with one of the Starry Night stencils to highlight it with the solar paste, which I think is gorgeous. And then to finish this off on top, I used the To the Moon die set, and I added a little spinner element to this moon, which I think really makes this card fun and playful. So definitely check out those spinners. I have those links down below, and they are so fun and unique, and really make a really great playful card that I think anyone is going to love. And they're not too thick either. So you might still want to hand deliver it, but it's not too thick. It'll still fit inside of your envelope really nice and easily. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I shared so many different techniques, and I was glad we were able to make one into a card, but hopefully you can take these solar paste techniques and run with them. Using your 3D embossing folders with the solar paste is a really great way to add tons of dimension and shine and color down to them. And again, with this Pastepalooza thing, I hope that you're just inspired to go grab your solar paste off your shelf, grab some embossing folders, and play. And be sure that if you share any projects, I would love to see them on social media. Be sure to tag me so I can see you having fun playing with the solar paste and your crafting products. All right, guys, well, have a wonderful night, and I'll see you very soon for another card making and crafting video to continue off Pastepalooza. Bye, guys.